Ever notice how some RPGs don't just give you quests? They pull you into worlds so deep you forget reality exists. That's what this list is all about. These aren't just games with good combat or pretty cutscenes. They're stories that stick with you, characters you'll argue about with friends, and choices that make you pause mid-controller. Today we're diving into 10 of the best story-driven RPGs you can play this year. Let's see which ones will wreck your sleep schedule.
I must finish what I started. Death's design will be complete.
Imagine waking up with a mind flayer worm wriggling in your skull. Not the best way to start the day, but that's the hook Baldur's Gate 3 throws at you. From there, the game spirals into a fight for survival, where every choice feels like it could tip the balance between saving the world or becoming something far worse. At its core, this is a story about corruption, identity, and the weight of power. You're not just slaying goblins and rolling dice. You're navigating a living narrative where companions react to everything you do. Maybe you'll inspire loyalty, maybe disgust, or maybe you'll end up in a very awkward romance scene with a vampire spawn. That's the magic here. Conversations aren't just text boxes, they're full cinematic performances, giving every choice gravity and personality. The campaign itself is massive. It starts with the threat of the parasite, but quickly tangles you in cults, gods, and politics, pulling you toward the infamous city of Baldur's Gate. And if you pick the Dark Urge origin, the story twists into something even darker, with unique events and brutal revelations waiting at every corner. It's the kind of replay value most RPGs can only dream about. Mechanically, it's Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition come to life. Combat is turn-based, but with a chaotic sandbox edge. You can shove enemies off cliffs, light puddles of grease on fire, or talk your way out of a fight entirely. Resting at camp becomes more than just a refill. It's where relationships grow, companions judge you, and hidden story beats unfold. And yes, you'll need to manage camp supplies because nothing says hero like scrambling for food before a boss fight. Progression keeps things addictive. The level cap is 12, but multi-classing and feats open endless builds. On top of that, the tadpoles in your brain unlock illithid powers, tempting you with abilities that are as terrifying as they are useful. Sprinkle in legendary gear, alchemy for bombs and potions, and you've got constant reasons to experiment.
Albio! You...
Imagine an RPG that spends as much time in philosophical debates as it does in combat. And that's Xenosaga Episode 1, a game that feels less like a weekend distraction and more like a semester-long course in space opera with Nietzsche footnotes. And somehow it works. You start with Shion Uzuki, a vector engineer babysitting her shiny new android Cosmos when the ship Woglinde gets wrecked by an alien swarm called the Gnosis. From there, the story explodes into political conspiracies, shadow organizations, and artifacts like the Zohar that may or may not connect to humanity's missing lost Jerusalem. It's heavy stuff, but the payoff is in the characters. A stoic cyborg, a digital child, and a cocky boy captain who's way more important than he lets on. Now, the gameplay. At first glance, it's turn-based comfort food, but Xenosaga slips in layers. Every character runs on an AP system, where you stock points, unleash combos, or cash them in for devastating tech attacks. The boost gauge lets you hijack the turn order and completely flip a battle, while the event slot spins random bonuses that can double or even multiply your rewards if you land the killing blow at the right moment. Add ethers, upgradable techs, and the option to jump into mechs, and combat stays fresh way past the opening hours. Outside of battles, there's plenty to chew on. Decoder keys open up hidden segment addresses, the UMN database floods you with lore, and your inbox even delivers side quests via email, sometimes with legit rewards, sometimes with spam. The Kukai Foundation doubles as a hub with casino minigames, collectible cards, and the infamous Robot Academy, where you grind through quests just to summon Erda Kaiser, a giant robot so strong it can nuke late-game bosses in one move. But what makes Xenosaga stick, though, is the audacity. It's not shy about cutscenes that run longer than TV episodes. It quotes Nietzsche in the subtitle. and it was originally pitched as a six-part epic before being crammed into a trilogy. Some people bounced off the pacing, sure, but for story-driven RPG fans, this is pure gold.
Don't meddle. Take the reward and let's go.
What makes a story-driven RPG legendary? It's not just epic quests or big choices. It's when even the smallest side mission hits harder than most games' main plots. And that's The Witcher 3. You step into the boots of Geralt of Rivia, searching for Ciri, a girl tied to his fate, while the terrifying Wild Hunt hunts her across war-torn lands. On paper, it's the usual hero's journey, but the execution? That's where the game becomes unforgettable. Every decision bleeds consequence. Help a family, and you might doom a village. Spare a monster, and it'll remember. And then there's the infamous A Tower Full of Mice questline, proof that this game's side stories can outshine other RPGs' finales. Combat is a cocktail of swords, magic, and preparation. Geralt doesn't just hack away, he oils blades for specific beasts, brews potions that poison his own body for an edge, and drops traps that can cripple even the nastiest specters. Signs like Igni or Quen seem simple at first, but with upgrades they morph into powerful tools. It's not the deepest combat system ever, but the way it ties to The Witcher's identity as a monster hunter makes it unique. Progression feels layered. You've got skill trees split into combat, alchemy, and magic, plus mutagens that boost abilities further. Scattered across the world are Witcher gear sets like Cat or Griffin armor, each with multiple upgrade levels. Then the expansions crank things up. Hearts of Stone adds rune words that completely change gear mechanics, while Blood and Wine introduces a whole new mutation system and a vineyard estate you can actually upgrade. Outside of battle, you'll race horses, play Gwent, which is a card game so good it got its own spin-off, brawl in taverns, dive into treasure hunts, or just follow Geralt's sardonic banter with villagers. The next-gen update polished it further with sharper visuals, new camera options, quick casting for signs, and even cross-progression across platforms.
Cruiser is changing course.
Most RPGs promise epic battles and legendary heroes, but Mass Effect 2, it promises death. The game builds an entire campaign around a suicide mission where your squad mates aren't protected by plot armor. If you slack on prep, you're not reloading a save, you're writing obituaries. The premise picks up right after the first game. Commander Shepard is forced to work with Cerberus, an organization that's as shady as it is powerful. From there, it's all about gathering specialists from across the galaxy, each with their own baggage, grudges, and quirks. And that's where Mass Effect 2 shines. The story isn't just about Shepard, it's about the team. Loyalty missions don't feel like side quests. They're mini-character dramas that decide whether someone stands by you when the chips are down. That blend of personal stakes with a galaxy-spanning war is what cements this game as one of the best story-driven RPGs ever made. On the gameplay side, it drops the clunky menus of the first game and leans into tight cover-based shooting. You've got 6 classes to choose from, whether you want straight-up firepower as a soldier, biotic chaos as an adept, or the suicide-charging vanguard. Enemies don't just eat bullets. They've got layers of armor, shields, and barriers that demand the right powers to crack. And yes, the old overheating weapons are gone, replaced with thermal clips. Translation? The combat finally feels snappy instead of like waiting for your rifle to cool off. Outside of battle, you're scanning planets for resources, researching ship and weapon upgrades, and micromanaging your crew. Sounds boring? Maybe, but when you realize that Normandy upgrades literally decide who lives or dies in the final mission, suddenly mining platinum doesn't feel optional anymore. And then there's the Paragon and Renegade interrupts, which are little cinematic choices mid-cutscene where you can play noble hero or ruthless bastard with one button press. It's a system so good, you'll wonder why more games never copied it. Mass Effect 2 isn't perfect. Yes, scanning planets can be tedious, but as a package, it nails the Holy Trinity. Sharp combat, incredible characters, and a finale that makes your decisions matter. It's less an RPG and more an interactive space opera, and honestly, that's exactly why it holds up today.
You will not stop me. Your form is fragile.
Imagine a Star Wars RPG where you don't just swing a lightsaber, you decide if you'll save the galaxy or burn it down. And that's Knights of the Old Republic, BioWare's legendary take on the universe, set thousands of years before the films. And yeah, it still holds up as one of the best story-driven RPGs ever made. The setup drops you into a war between the Republic and the Sith, with Darth Malak unleashing fleets built from some mysterious superweapon. You start as a nobody soldier, but the deeper you go, the more you uncover about your past, your choices, and the real reason the Sith are unstoppable. Without spoiling too hard, let's just say there's a plot twist here that ranks among the greatest in RPG history. Gameplay is this fascinating hybrid. Under the hood, it's classic D20 dice rolls, straight out of Dungeons & Dragons. But on screen, it looks like real-time combat, where you can pause, queue abilities, and swap control between party members. Each character brings something different, like Bastila with her battle meditation, HK-47 with his meatbag comedy, or Jolie's cranky wisdom. And the dialogue alone makes half the journey worth it. Progression gives you tons of freedom. Early on, you pick from Soldier, Scout, or Scoundrel, and later you commit to a Jedi path, Guardian, Sentinel, or Consular, shaping whether you're all about sabers, force powers, or balance. Your alignment matters too. Go full light and you're a shining Jedi. Go dark and your skin cracks, your powers cheapen, and suddenly Force Lightning becomes your new best friend. Outside combat, there's plenty to chew on. You can mod weapons and sabers with crystals and upgrades, hack or repair droids if you've invested in skills, and even gamble away hours in the Pazak card game or swoop bike races. And your ship, the Ebonhawk, isn't just transport, it's a hub where conversations with your crew can unlock backstories, romances, and even side quests. But what makes KOTOR special is how seamlessly it blends player choice, tactical gameplay, and narrative weight. Every conversation, every moral call, pushes you closer to being the galaxy's savior, or not.
Public fugitives, attack!
If you're having fun so far, drop a like and let me know in the comments what you'd love to see in the next video. Yep, this is part of a full series, and I'm leaving the playlist link down in the description and in the card at the end, so don't miss it. Your comments give the algorithm a reason to keep this channel breathing, and yes, I really do check and reply to every single one. And if you haven't subscribed yet, come on, don't let your buddy Sage wander the YouTube wilderness alone. Hit that sub button and stick around. We're dropping new videos every single day, and you won't want to miss what's coming next. What if an RPG actually made you feel like the weight of a kingdom rested on your choices? Dragon Age Origins doesn't just tell a story, it throws you into the middle of a war where every decision leaves scars. On you, on your party, and on the world itself. The setup is grim, but compelling. You're a newly recruited Grey Warden in Ferelden, a land on the brink of collapse thanks to the Darkspawn and their archdemon. Sounds like standard fantasy? Not quite. The game opens with one of 6 unique origins, whether you're a noble, a mage, a Dalish elf, or even a dwarven outcast, and each prologue shaping how characters treat you later. But where the game really shines is in its companions. They're not just warm bodies to fill your party slots. They've got opinions, grudges, romances, and they'll call you out if you push too far. Gift-giving and approval systems make you constantly manage relationships, and sometimes, no amount of persuasion will keep everyone happy. In fact, late in the game, you can even recruit a sworn enemy to your side, but good luck explaining that to Alistair. Combat walks a razor edge between tactical and brutal. On PC, you get a full isometric view, pause whenever you want, and script custom tactics for each companion like a little programmer of death. Maybe you set your healer to auto-shield squishies under 50% health, or your rogue to backstab whenever an enemy gets frozen. And yes, the spell combos are nasty, Petrify an enemy and then shatter them with a well-placed stone fist, turning them into gravel. Just watch out for friendly fire, because here it hurts. Progression is all about building your character your way. Stats split into strength, dexterity, cunning, and more, while skills like coercion open up new dialogue paths. Specializations like Arcane Warrior or Blood Mage unlock through quests, manuals, or the right mentors. Even crafting isn't filler, because poisons, poultices, traps, and runes enchanted by the ever-charming Sandal add depth between battles. And that's the magic of Origins. It's not just about slaying monsters, it's about the weight of leadership, the friction in your party, and the fact that every victory feels earned, messy, and personal. It's BioWare at its most ambitious, and honestly, still one of the best story-driven RPGs you can play today. Chrono Trigger isn't just another retro RPG, it's the one people still use as a measuring stick nearly 3 decades later. Imagine a game where the story doesn't just take you across continents, but across centuries, letting you poke holes in time itself. That's the hook, and it still feels wild today. The setup is deceptively simple, with a festival, a girl, a teleportation experiment gone wrong, and suddenly you're not worrying about candy or prizes. You're staring down a future where the planet is annihilated by a parasite named Lavos. From there, the story explodes across eras: prehistoric hunts, medieval kingdoms, a post-apocalyptic wasteland, and even a kingdom floating above the clouds, a place so obsessed with power that what happens there flips the entire story on its head. The cast is small but sharp, each with arcs that actually pay off, from Frog's revenge against Magus to Luca's confrontation with her own trauma. And the game doesn't pull punches. At one point, it throws your main hero into a situation that feels impossible, and the way it lets you handle that moment still stands as one of the boldest choices in RPG history. Mechanically, Chrono Trigger took the clunky JRPG playbook of the 90s and set it on fire. No random encounters, enemies are visible, and fights happen right where you stand. The Active Time Battle 2.0 makes positioning matter, and the real star are the dual and triple techs, which are flashy team combos that still look cooler than most modern RPG specials. Upgrades are straightforward: weapons, armor, helmets, and accessories. But the real spice comes from tabs that permanently boost stats and side quests that drip-feed legendary gear like the Rainbow equipment. Outside of combat, there's just enough world management to make it feel alive. The courtroom trial early on actually judges your tiny choices, whether you grabbed a pendant before helping Marl or stole a guy's lunch. Later, optional quests reshape timelines, restoring forests, redeeming characters, even altering towns' cultures. And once you finish, New Game Plus kicks in, letting you crush Lavos whenever you feel like it, unlocking one of a dozen endings that range from bittersweet epilogues to complete absurdity. Chrono Trigger isn't a museum piece, it's still a masterclass in pacing, storytelling, and replayability. And the fact that it holds up this well after 30 years? That's not nostalgia, that's design perfection. What RPG dares to throw you into slavery as a child, let you grow up, get married, raise kids, and then watch your son steal the spotlight? Dragon Quest V does, and it's brutal, emotional, and unforgettable. The story spans 3 decades of your character's life. You start as a boy tagging along with your father, only to watch tragedy unfold. Years later, you're free but scarred, forced to decide who you'll marry before becoming a parent. That family becomes the emotional core of the game, and when your children step into the fight, it hits hard. On the gameplay side, this is still classic turn-based Dragon Quest, but with one huge twist: monster recruitment. After battles, creatures might beg to join you, and suddenly you're mixing human allies with a squad of slimes, drakis, and Saber, the saber-toothed cat. And they level up, learn spells, and equip gear just like anyone else. Progression is straightforward, no job system here, but equipment, buffs, and smart party choices make boss fights tense. The wagon system lets you swap reserves mid-battle and ensures benched monsters still earn XP. Outside combat, you've got casinos, mini-medals to trade for rare loot, and the Knick-Knackatory, a quirky museum of collectibles. The DS version is the definitive one, with a fourth-party slot, maps on the top screen, party chat, and Deborah as a new bride option. And yes, the kids' looks change depending on who you marry, a tiny but charming detail that makes the choice feel personal. But what makes Dragon Quest V stand out isn't just its systems, though. It's the way it ties story and mechanics into a generational saga. You aren't just grinding levels. You're raising a family, shaping a legacy, and living through the kind of emotional highs and lows that most RPGs don't dare touch.
Who are we? What are the dominants? The power
You know a game's serious when its rating jumps to mature before you even touch the controller. Final Fantasy XVI doesn't hold back. It's brutal, political, and way darker than the crystal-filled adventures you might remember. This is a world where magic comes at the cost of slavery, nations bleed each other dry over giant crystals, and people literally turn into gods in the middle of battle. Yeah, it's that kind of ride. You play as Clive Rosfield, a guy who goes from privileged noble to wandering outcast to full-blown force of nature. His story spans decades, driven by revenge, betrayal, and the slow, painful realization that the system he once served is built on chains and suffering. The best part? The game keeps you grounded in the lore with one of the smartest features ever added to an RPG: active time lore. At any moment, you can pause a cutscene and instantly pull up a mini-wiki of characters, places, and political messes, so you never feel lost in the chaos. Honestly, every RPG should steal this. But this isn't just about lore. It's about combat that hits harder than any mainline Final Fantasy before it. Forget menu-based commands. Here, you're juggling icon powers like Phoenix, Titan, and Odin, swapping between them mid-combo to chain ridiculous strings of attacks. Enemies have a will gauge that staggers them when broken, opening the door for cinematic finishers that feel straight out of Devil May Cry, which makes sense, since a former DMC designer built this system. Add in limit breaks, flashy quick-time events clashes during boss fights, and your loyal Wolf Torgal who can heal or maul on command. And the whole thing flows like a high-speed action RPG, with just enough depth to keep you experimenting. Outside battle, your hideout becomes a hub for everything: crafting, hunting notorious monsters, chasing side quests, and checking the political map to see who's stabbing who this week. It's not the most complex management system, but it ties the world together and makes the downtime feel alive. Final Fantasy XVI might not give you the endless RPG spreadsheets of older entries, but what it delivers is a razor-sharp story wrapped around some of the most cinematic combat the series has ever pulled off. What if an RPG didn't just tell you a story but made you question why stories exist at all? That's Nier Automata. On the surface, it looks like a stylish action game about androids fighting alien machines in a post-apocalyptic Earth. But underneath, it's one of the boldest narrative experiments gaming has ever pulled off, mixing philosophy, tragedy, and meta-storytelling in ways that stick with you long after the credits roll. The setup sounds straightforward. You play as android soldiers 2B, 9S, and later A2, locked in a war to reclaim Earth from an endless swarm of machines. But the game doesn't unfold in a single playthrough. Instead, every route reframes the last, revealing new truths and pushing you deeper into questions about consciousness, purpose, and identity. Combat is fast and fluid, letting you swap between weapon sets, pull off perfect dodges, and unleash pod support with lasers or shields. But Nier refuses to stay in one lane. One mission plays like a bullet hell shooter, the next becomes a 2D side-scroller. And if you're controlling 9S, fights shift into neon hacking minigames that flip the entire combat loop. Every mechanical twist is tied to the characters, making gameplay feel like an extension of the narrative. Progression is just as inventive. Instead of a standard skill tree, you customize your Android's operating system with plug-in chips. Need more attack power? Slot it in. Want to save memory space? Delete your minimap. Pull out your OS chip? You're dead. Yes, really. Weapons can be upgraded, pods gain new programs, and each weapon hides a weapon story, which is a dark little piece of lore that adds more weight to this broken world. Nier Automata doesn't just have an ending, it has endings. 26 in total, with 5 that form the real backbone of the narrative. Each one reframes the story, shifting your perspective or pushing events further until the full picture finally clicks. And then comes the finale, a bold meta twist that breaks the fourth wall. It asks you for a sacrifice most games would never dare, connecting you directly to strangers and turning your choice into the final act of the story. That's why this isn't just another RPG with good combat. Nier Automata is one of the most powerful story-driven experiences you can play in 2025, blending genre-bending mechanics with a narrative that dares to ask what it even means to keep playing. If you're still with me, the link to the playlist is popping up in the card right now. This video is part of a full series, and trust me, they're packed with even more amazing picks you'll definitely want on your radar. And hey, don't forget to support your buddy Sage by subscribing to the channel and leaving a comment on each video. It keeps the algorithm happy, and honestly, it's the digital equivalent of tossing me a high five.